Brother.
Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Go Ask Your Brother, the only live and unscripted show that attempts to combine recording technology with my brother. We're broadcasting live as ever from the Music Library studios here high atop the Music Library Tower in downtown Bella Vista. We're going to start with our viewer mail as usual. It's a particularly large amount of mail this week. And first letter we got is from Trish in Shannon, Ireland. She says, Dear Go Ask Your Brother, I love your show. Your host is so cute, I can't stand it. I wish it goes on a bit. I'll summarize. The gist of Trish's letter is that the episode 1 screen resolution made some things hard to see, and she sent us an ancient Irish traditional remedy to help with the on-screen watchability. Is watchability a word? It is? So we'll see what Trish sent to help with the on-screen watchability. Okay, nice. That said, let's get started. Today we're going to look at really just how to find your way around Cubase. We're going to look at some sneaky stuff that Steinberg did to the program and, just conserve real estate on screen, but it can make it a little hard for the newly acquainted or the new user to navigate. So what we're looking at here is just a kind of a standard set of windows. We've got a mixer, we've got a transport bar, and of course the mighty project window up here in the top. The first thing I want to call your attention to is here in the lower right hand corner we've got some triangles with a plus and minus sign. These are scroll bars. In the upper right hand corner is another triangle, although you can't really see the plus and minus signs. These are essentially your zoom controls, and if you click and drag like I'm doing here, you can change the overall scale of what you're looking at on the project window. Here I've clicked and dragged the triangle fully left, and you can see that we're looking at 10 minutes worth of timeline. Now if you had 2 hours of audio in there, it would allow you to squeeze it much further. It kind of takes a best guess at how much you'd want to compress. And if we drag it all the way over to the right, we're basically seeing about 1/10 of a second per frame here. So you've got quite a lot of flexibility in what you want to see. Right next to it here is a vertical version of the same function. It scrolls this way, and it'll make each track as wide or as narrow as you need, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing a lot of in-place editing and you want to see the MIDI notes inside the part here, this is probably a good way to look at it. When you get to mixing and you're more concerned with the overall big picture stuff, you can squeeze those right up. So that's what those two controls do. Of course, down in the very lower right-hand corner, you have a charcoal-colored box with lines. You click and drag there, and you can resize the whole window. And look, it's our faithful studio mascot spinner. Buddy, sorry. It's one of the dogs. Now, in the top right-hand corner, you've got this fella, and that actually squeezes what's inside the display. So I'm going to open up those track widths quite a bit just to make a point. And then I'm going to use this other vertical scroll bar here to compress and expand the waveform view inside. Now what we're looking at in this particular program, this particular project, is all MIDI data. So you're not seeing the waveform crunch up and squish down, but you get the idea. All right, some other things you need to know about. Up here in the timeline itself, the ruler along the top of the screen. If you click and drag, I'm clicking and holding here with my left button, and I'm pulling down vertically and then pushing up vertically with the mouse. As I do that, you'll see the project expand and compress. It's basically duplicating the functionality of this slider in the lower right-hand corner. And in fact, you'll see that triangle down in the right-hand corner respond as I am zooming with the timeline. Now that's handy because if you're mousing around up here and you're selecting and dragging markers around, for example, you can just click into the timeline, pull down, expand out, grab your marker, move it over, click there, and push up, and so on and so forth. It's convenient as long as you know what's happening. What I've seen happen several times is somebody will get in here, they're typically up here trying to click and drag markers, and they accidentally click and drag on the timeline, and then, oh, hey, what just happened? Where'd my project go? I can't see anything, especially if your scroll bar here at the bottom is pulled way over to the right. Now suddenly looks like you just lost your project. You didn't, it's just squished or zoomed. So keep your eye on those controls, both so you don't inadvertently trip them, and so that you can use them to make a line in a box just immediately to the left of the timeline there. And if I hover over that, it's going to say divide track list. If you click on that, you get this empty space here at the top. And what this does, and you can, if you hover over the heavy separator line there, it turns into a double bar, click and drag to move the divide area up and down. This allows you to separate your content tracks at the bottom and your utility tracks at the top. So if we click on this track, over to the far left-hand side, we have a whole bunch of stuff called the inspector. And I'm going to collapse it fully. At the moment, you'll see just a bunch of titles. If you click on each one of those titles, this track happens to be called piano for piano. If I click on that, it's going to open my basic set of tools. And all this mute, solo, read, write, and record stuff, that's a duplication of what's out here. And down below in the channel strip itself, or in the mixer rather, you have mute, record, solo, edit, all this stuff. This edit button here does the exact same thing as this edit button here, and it's duplicated again over here. It just gives you a lot of ways to address those same features, which it makes the screen a little more complicated when you're first starting, but what you'll find is that it's easy because if you're mousing around down here and you want to mute, you can do it without driving across the screen. Same thing up here, you're working over here, just come over and mute there or mute up here. You'll notice, for example, with the mute function or the solo, which may be easier to see, I click one, you can see that these all three turn red. So you've got, throughout the whole program, you've got a lot of stuff duplicated one place and another, including the monitors, the volume, pan, all that sort of stuff. So in this first screen, we've got all our routing, where the signal's coming from, where it's going to, etc., what sound is selected. If we click down below, we have, now at the moment I have a MIDI track selected, so we have the option for MIDI inserts. If we want to put any of these MIDI effects in line, we can do that. If I click down on the next heavy gray bar, I get just audio inserts, your delay, reverb, distortion, that sort of thing. Here's a fast track to the equalizer section. Here to just the effects sends. If you want to put reverb on, we can put the effect in there and dial it up or down, etc. Then we can look at the channel itself with a summary of what's active, and finally at the bottom is a notepad. Now, if you just simply click the edit button and you open the channel entirely, you'll see here we have all that functionality. The last thing I want to show you before we wrap up this one is this little guy, and we'll try to zoom in on the screencast and show you. On each one of these tracks, whether it's an audio track or MIDI, doesn't matter, over to the left-hand side, there's sort of this blank area underneath the track number and the icon. You just hover there, you'll see a little caret appear. It's a little round circle with a down arrow in it. That's your hide show automation. If you click that, it opens up a sublane, an indented sublane, where your automation information is stored. And from there you can choose. I think that's all we have the time for today, but basic stuff but important stuff. I hope that's helpful, and until next time, happy recording.